here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind you.
Let him do that strange.
Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address it properly.
You can kiss my foot.
Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
Did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena. And
Most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
Why won't local news outlets tell you this? You watch what I have to show you tonight and tell me if it's newsworthy. My logo behind me is not working. And now I have a tickle in my throat. It's gonna be a different night for me because look, I actually have hot tea. Can you see that? And it's going to burn my lips because it's really hot, but I need a drink of tea. That's all. You got to be careful in this town, as you're going to find out. All right. What an opening, huh? See, I believe in starting off, bad and then really taking off. That's my new strategy. You're not going to believe what I got to show you tonight. Why won't local news outlets tell you and show you what I'm going to show you tonight? You may know that the Lynn Haven police chief, there have been calls for Ricky Ramie, there have been calls for his resignation. You say, Bernie, there's been a call, not calls. Already you're wrong. Yeah, you got a point. Lynn Haven Commissioner Judy Tinder has called for his resignation. Why? Well, because public records that Lynn Haven has hid have come to light. And these public records are text messages between then Assistant Police Chief Ricky Ramie, because Matt Rammer was the police chief at that time in 2018. So it was Assistant Police Chief in 2018, Ricky Ramie, and the city manager at the time, Michael White, who was indicted and has pled guilty in his involvement of Lynn Haven being defrauded of $5 million at least. All right. But they were best bros. These public record text messages show that they were best bros. They would text each other all the time. But tonight I'm going to focus on what I think of all of the vulgar stuff you may have heard about. I'm going to focus tonight on what I consider the worst element of these text messages that were on city phones that were hidden by the city of Lynn Haven. And much has been made about the city commission that is not scheduled to meet again until next year, January. So only one commissioner has called for a meeting, an emergency meeting to discuss this stuff. And nobody else has commented on it except for today. I saw that Commissioner Jamie Warwick issued a comment, and he said, everybody be cool. I mean, come on, Jamie. Pretty much that's it, right? Jamie is, like I say, like he's Mr. Spock, right? No emotions. We're just looking at the facts. And look, my criticism of Jamie, and we're allowed to criticize each other, Jamie, is that this warrants an emergency meeting, right? Even if the meeting is just to have a discussion, maybe to issue an official declaration from the city that this is a damn big deal, right? Not something that should be sort of delayed. And I'm not even saying that if commissioners, I believe this is how it works. I think the mayor can call, and the mayor of Lynn Haven, by the way, has a doctor of leadership, he says. And so this is, you got to have that kind of training to be able to handle these kind of crises. But he hasn't, there's a picture of him golfing on his Facebook page, but he hasn't said anything. The only people who have commented about this are Commissioner Jamie Warwick and Commissioner Judy Tinder. I believe the way it works is the mayor can call an emergency meeting, or if he doesn't, 3 members of the commission could call one. But there are a couple of members of the commission who I don't think give a damn about this. You peasants need to just stop already with the drama. Certainly that's the way Brandon Aldridge feels. Pat Perno is a hell of a nice guy, but not somebody who usually is taking the lead on things, if you know what I'm talking about. I like Pat. I wish Pat would do the right thing here. And the right thing would be to have a meeting, to acknowledge it, let the public comment on it. That's what you do when you're a family. You don't say, we got a real problem here with a member of the family. It's bad. And we'll deal with it, whenever we get to it, at the next dinner, the next holiday. You don't do that. The attention from the Lynn Haven Commission should be commensurate with this controversy. And so far, it's not. So, best I can tell, one commissioner, Commissioner Tinder, has called for the resignation, wants an emergency meeting. Then you've got, at the next level of attention, you've got Jamie Warwick, who published a message today, or a Facebook post. And so he has officially addressed it. I would call a press conference if I was an elected official. I'd call for an emergency meeting and a press conference, because this is a big deal. I'll show it to you. I'm going to focus on there's a lot of these text messages about a lot of stuff, but the one I'm going to focus on tonight has got to be the worst. There's not a whole lot worse. There's worse, but not a whole lot worse than a police chief who arrests somebody as a favor to his bro, who also is his boss, in order to teach this B word, basically a lesson that when we and our buddies are having affairs, you side pieces need to act right and don't piss us off, especially if we have badges. Can I get an amen? I mean, if we have badges, then you got to act right, ladies, when you're in these. Now, that is not, by the way, because the woman who was falsely arrested, and I'm not making fun of her, I'm making fun of them. All right, so make sure we get this straight. I'm not making fun of her. I'm joking around. You got to joke around at times like this. This is bad for the community. But she had her life upended and brought a civil lawsuit after the arrest. She got pretrial intervention. She had to serve like 6 months, community service, whatever, for getting set up and arrested by Chief Ramie. You're going to see the text messages. But when she brought the lawsuit, Marie Maddox, powerful attorney in Tallahassee, sued the city of Lynn Haven. And I believe also the individual, but I'm not certain of that, but certainly Lynn Haven. But the lawsuit didn't go anywhere. You know why? Because the city of Lynn Haven said during the discovery process, where they had to actually file a motion to compel discovery, Lynn Haven, and I believe Michael White, I don't know if Michael White was there when the lawsuit when the litigation was going on. But the city said, we don't have any evidence in discovery. So the lawsuit was dismissed by Marie Maddox. They didn't get anything. Well, now we all realize, because of the text messages that are public records, that the city hid it. The city committed fraud on the court. The city said during a civil litigation that there was no evidence. And why all of this is important is at this very time, with the Lynn Haven corruption lawsuit with defendants Mayor Margot Anderson and developer James Finch, Chief Judge Mark Walker, federal judge, in that case, is evaluating right now whether or not there was targeted investigations and vindictive prosecution against them. 2.5 years ago, Mayor Anderson was indicted on 64 counts. And boy, did they had all kinds of stuff. She was floating around on the Keys after the hurricane. She had her property cleaned up by Lynn. Hey, get over here and get these trees out of here. All right. I got to back up the motorhome, Get everybody over here. Fix my house first. Do you know that never happened? At the evidentiary hearing last Tuesday, wow. Finally, the judge looked at her property. A big ordeal about this. And Judge Walker said there was no cleanup on the property. 2.5 years, no cleanup on our property. That was what started everything. And that's what got a constitutionally elected mayor removed from office. Something that never happened. So the 64 counts, the court threw out most of them. It's down to, and then the prosecution threw out another 25 not too long ago. It's down to 2. And now Judge Walker is going, wait a minute, let's take a look at all this evidence to see, as the defense says, that there has been targeted investigations, vindictive investigations, and prosecution. And it damn sure kind of looks like it. So during the evidentiary hearing, Chief Judge Mark Walker heard testimony, and the first person to testify was the city manager, Michael White, who wanted this lady arrested because his bro buddy, a guy named Francis, they were having an affair. She did something that upset them. So Michael White told Chief Ramie about it. We got to do something about the Franny situation. That's his nickname. That's Michael White's bro, And so Chief Ramie, he didn't need to be told what to do, He said, we'll arrest her ass. That'll teach her. And they did. City manager at the time in 2018, Michael White, said, set her ass up if you have to. Set her ass up. That's what the boss told the chief of police. Chief of police answers to Michael White. Used to when they were pros. They arrested her, and then they hid the evidence. So the entire what a lot of the Lynn Haven corruption case is about now is the mayor who was removed from office for stuff that even the prosecutors say she didn't do now. And developer James Finch, they are claiming vindictive arrest and hiding of evidence. So let's see, what did then Assistant Chief Ramie do? Vindictive arrest and hid the evidence. Hid the evidence. So this woman who was arrested, she actually had to go through the court system. She was punished 6 months of community service because she never had the evidence to defend herself. And then in her civil lawsuit, she never had the evidence to defend herself because the city of Lynn Haven hid the public records that are now public, and Lynn Haven officials are pissed off about it. So let me show you what I posted on Facebook. Let's get to it. I've been told you take too damn long to get to it. But yeah, let's do that. Let's take a look at that right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall. is where it's at, right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
Okay. This is so bad. Just imagine being in a community where your local news won't tell you this. Is this newsworthy or not? All right. So what I'm going to do is make it bigger for you to see it. Okay. I suppose that's good enough there, huh? Can you read that? So what a lot of members on the commission are saying is, look, there's no proof he committed a crime here. Yeah, the text messages were, the text messages were, they're embarrassing and they were scandalous, salacious, sure. But until we have proof that a crime has been committed, the man should not lose his job. And as a matter of fact, if he were to lose his job, he could sue us. It could be a big liability lawsuit, right? Because there's no proof that he committed a crime. Well, my point here is this. Police Chief Ricky Ramie is not a criminal defendant. The standard for his termination is not based upon trial evidence. The Lynn Haven City Commission is not a jury. Shocking text messages between former city manager Michael White and then Assistant Police Chief Ricky Ramie have led to a public outcry for his resignation. Short of a crime, the standard for firing Chief Ramie would be violations of the city's ethics policy for their police officers. Other considerations might include, when the council's thinking about it and the city manager, would include things like, gross transgressions of leadership, poor ambassadorship, etc. Now, I need to make this point too, because some of you might be thinking about this. And Commissioner Warwick brought this up in his post today. The city manager, Vicki Gaynor, who also had to take the stand, more on that coming soon. People are saying she's the one in charge of hiring and firing. That's not true. And because, people like Jamie Warwick, who are fact-based, only fact-based, no emotion ever, understand that the city charter guides that. The city charter governs who hires and who fires the officers, like a police chief. Do you know what the city charter says? The city charter doesn't say anything about who fires a police chief, but it does say that the officers are appointed by the city manager, who is Vicki Gaynor, but only on the advice and consent of at least the majority of the commissioners. So advice is before, consent is after. So since there's nothing else in the charter, and really smart lawyers at Lynn Haven to, follow along, if it tells you how they're hired and there's nothing about how they're fired, don't the rules of construction indicate that it's the same rules? So, Commissioner Warwick, you have more of a role in this than just waiting for her to do the right thing. And he said he has a lot of faith in her. Somebody else I saw posted something that said, they should wait. They shouldn't rush into any action. They should wait until they get the facts. They get all the truth. Listen, that's a dereliction of duty if you're waiting around for the truth to fall in your lap. One of my favorite Chinese proverbs, ancient Chinese proverb. You ready for this? It's one of the best I got. I only know 4 of them now, but this is one of my favorites. It says, man wait for long time with mouth open before roast duck fly in. Right? You got to go get it. J.K. Rowling says there's nothing like finding something. There's nothing like there's nothing like looking if you want to find something. You don't just wait around till the truth trips and falls in your lap. Right now, you have an obligation to find the truth. sit around and wait around till it lands on us. You can't sweep it under the rug. People are tripping over the rug at this point. Am I right or wrong? You got to go find it or wait till the Beacon of Bay County provides it, you know? So people are saying that, you know, they didn't commit a crime, but I'm telling you, that's not the standard. The standard is, does the police chief, is he following the policies and procedures of what an officer has to abide by, the code of ethics according to the state statute and according to the city's policies? That's the standard, not a criminal prosecution standard. That's not the standard. The county commission is not a jury. So let's correct the conversation. Okay. I say Chief Ramey's loyalists are pretending that only proof of a crime warrants termination, but that's absurd. The public record text messages show Chief Ramey desecrating his badge with a shocking abuse of authority. In 2018, then Assistant Chief Ramey volunteered to arrest a woman as a favor for then city manager Michael White. She was having an affair with Michael White's bro buddy, a guy named Francis. The girl effed up shit, said Michael White. Ricky Ramey offers, we'll arrest her ass. All right. Let's set her ass up, Michael White said. And they did. She was arrested that night and thrown in jail. She filed a civil lawsuit, but it was dropped because the city of Lynn Haven told the court that there was no evidence during the discovery process. At the very least, Mayor Nelson should call an emergency meeting, or a majority of commissioners should call an emergency meeting to address this controversy, even if it's only to discuss by only a discussion by the commission that results in a later decision. What they're not realizing is that reality doesn't disappear because news outlets are hiding explosive public records from the public. So far, Judy Tinder is the only commissioner who has called for an emergency meeting. She has even called for Chief Ramey's resignation. Commissioners Brandon Aldridge and Pat Perno have ignored the situation. Commissioner Jamie Warwick has considered it, but chosen not to call for an emergency meeting. Mayor Nelson, who claims to have a doctor of leadership, is kicking the can down the road until next year's meeting. Now, I'm not sure if silence is violence, but I know silence is consent. I know that much. So you won't be able to probably see these. You can look down on the page, but what is circled, okay, what is at the top is Michael White's text on city phones that the city tried to hide. These are public records. He's talking about his buddy Francis, the guy. And Francis is the lady he's seeing on the side, okay? The lady he's seeing on the side did something that ticked off Francis. And Michael White's texting his employee, the person who answers to him, because Michael White's the city manager, and the assistant chief of police at the time, 2018, is Ricky Ramey. So green is Michael White, blue is Ricky Ramey. The first text, Michael White says, it's bad. The girl effed up. That girl effed up. And Ricky Ramey, assistant chief, he says, tell him to come see Tom on Tuesday, and we will arrest her ass, says Ramey. Make sure he takes pictures and saves all the text messages, etc. He needs to get an injunction on her, says Ramey. Michael White says, dude, it's bad. And he's low. I need to set him up, presumably with a girl. You know, that because that's what you do when bros are down. When the bro side piece is messing stuff up, you send another one. Haven't you heard Rapper's Delight? It's in the lyrics. Chief Ramey at the bottom. We can do it tonight. Shell is working tonight. That's an officer. Shell. That's Ramey's guy. That's an officer who will do the dirty work. right, so let's see the other one. So then Michael White says, okay, so Michael White says, okay, I told him, let's set her ass up. Michael White tells the cops who work for him, let's set her ass up tonight. That's what it says. That's what he told Ricky Ramie. Sorry. So I don't know where I lost you. But Michael White says at the top, okay, I told him to set her ass up. He told Shell, set her ass up, the cop. And Ricky Ramie says, let me know. And Michael White says, okay. And then he says, I'm at the Sandbar. And Chief Ramie says, I'm at the Moose Lounge, or the Moose Lodge. And then Chief Ramie says, Chief Ramie tells Michael White, y'all are about to get a wet ass. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Can somebody tell me what that means? I need to ask you because I don't know about that. Y'all are about to get a wet ass. What does that even mean? Y'all about to get a wet ass. Does that mean he's sending a lady? A lady. I don't know what it means. Y'all about to get a wet ass. Not sure what that means. But put it in the comment section if you know. This is how Michael White and Chief Ramie talked all the time. But WMBB and the News Herald and WJHG, they want to wait. They want to wait till they get all the facts. They report anything. All right. I'm going to show you some more stuff. There's more stuff. By the way, do you think that this warrants an emergency meeting, or should they just wait till next year and address it at a regular meeting? Take your time. Wait till more facts come out. Don't go looking for them. You know, let's not get hasty. Let's go about this methodically. All right, I'm going to show you more stuff. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com. All right, let me show you a couple of things here. Are you ready for something crazy? So about a year ago, I believe this was when Chief Ramie arrested the building official. He arrested the city's building official. And gosh, his name escapes me right now. And I just met him too. Come on, Bernie, what's his name? Will somebody write down the name of the building official that Ricky Ramie arrested? A lot of questions about that arrest too as well. Let me see if you guys have. Somebody give me the name of the building. Gordon, thanks. Michael Gordon. Thanks, Brian. Brian's quickest on the draw today. So there it is. So Michael Gordon was arrested about a year ago. There's a lot of questions about that arrest. Some people say that city manager, and I think there's enough here that I think it's worth looking into, right? There's nothing like looking if you want to find something, or you can sit around waiting for the facts to fall in your lap. So city manager Vicki Gaynor got a big raise, and she was building a big, beautiful home. But she needed some inspections to get her CO. And Mike Gordon was, no, this is not okay, you know? So he wouldn't sign off on it. And that really ticked off City Manager Vicky Gaynor. And some people went up there to the council meeting and said, this looks vindictive. It looks like you had, a city manager have the police chief arrest them because you're pissed off. Now, they hadn't had a history of that. Wait a minute. Yeah, they did. So a lot of people think that's true. I don't know if that's true, but it with a police chief like this arresting people for pissed off city managers, I think it's in the realm of it could be. Am I right or wrong? So at that meeting, Ricky Ramie had enough of these accusations because nobody knew about what he had done yet. And so Ricky Ramie was pissed, and he went up there and he looked right at Commissioner Judy Tinder, right? Now, there's also a text message where Chief Ricky Ramie tells Michael White that Judy Tinder is a butch pee licking C word. Mm-hmm. But the commissioners say, look, it's not nice talk, but it's not a crime. And unless he commits a crime, it's not proper. Do you not understand? Let me show you. So Ricky Ramie got pissed off. The chief got pissed off. He went up there, accusations of arresting people just because a city manager is pissed off. Ricky Ramie would never do that. In fact, that's his biggest fear.
I'll tell you, Miss Tender, my biggest fear in this job is not being shot. My biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail. And that's all I have to say.
Any other public commentary?
He was ticked. That was last year. Even the presumption that he would ever arrest somebody out of spite or as a favor. And he looked right at that PL and B C word, and he told her, didn't he? He was indignant. Turned around and walked out of there. How dare you make an accusation like that?
I'll tell you, Miss Tender, my biggest fear in this job is not being shot. My biggest fear is putting an innocent person in jail. And that's all I have to say.
Any other public commentary?
So now that we know what he did in 2018, that the city hid, let's take a look at what the standards really are. So when you hear city commissioners say, well, unless we have proof he committed a crime. No, if you have proof he committed a crime, he needs to be arrested. That's not the standard for termination. The standard for termination is what are the city's ethics policies that the police sign off onto you, and what is the moral conduct, the moral character. What is that policy? Well, let's take a look at the police standards. This is from the Association of Chiefs of Police on Code of Ethics. And tell me if this applies. I will. This is what, when you're a chief of police, this is International Association of Chiefs of Police. They have conferences and they all promise to protect and serve. I will never act officiously or permit personal feelings, prejudices, political beliefs, aspirations, animosities, or friendships even to influence my decisions, with no compromise for crime and with relentless prosecution of criminals. I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities ever. Now, by the way, you should know this, at the evidentiary hearing on Monday, 1 week ago today, There were questions about why Michael White at about the same time dropped right after the hurricane, dropped off a sack of cash. Brought up a sack of cash to his bro, Chief Ramie, and dropped it at his feet and said, I got to go to a meeting, man. Can you watch this sack of cash? This is what Michael White testified to and Rick Ramie testified to. Michael White said it was $10,000 in the bag. And he said he got it because he had sold a Jeep and he had a bag of cash. And then he wanted to buy some property with it. See, that's all. And he didn't want to take it into the meeting because that would look weird. You know, that would look kind of weird. So he didn't do that. So I mean, this really happened now. This really happened. When Chief Ramie got on the stand, he said, yeah, he dropped off a sack of cash. Okay. But I didn't touch it. He dropped it right at my feet. He left for a meeting and I just sat there and looked at the cash. Never did count it. Didn't touch it. I just looked at it until Michael White came back. And when Michael White came back, I said, bro, what are you doing with all this cash in the bag? Michael White said, he goes, how much is in there? Because he didn't count it. He said under oath he didn't count it. And Michael White said it's, now this is what Chief Ramie told the FBI a while back. And it was an official FBI investigation note. Chief Ramie said back then that Michael White came back, got the bag of cash and said it's about 40 grand. 40 grand of cash sitting at Chief Ramie's feet. But Chief Ramie said, I don't know how much was in it. I didn't touch it. I didn't look at it. I mean, I looked at it, you know, but I didn't count it. So I don't know. But he was going to buy some property from Jim Slonina, who owns Panhandle Engineering, who gets a boatload of money from the county contracts. And his partner, Chris Forehand, gets a ton of money in contracts from the city of Lynn Haven. He was just going to take that cash. He was going to go buy some property. But I got a question. You know, while the city commissioners are sitting around waiting for the truth to come, you know, hop on their lap and whisper sweet nothings while they're hey guys, while you're waiting around on that, I don't have a doctor in leadership, but Jesse Nelson does, the mayor. You know, you could maybe ask, did the city manager Michael White ever buy property from Jim Slonina? Okay, well then we know where the cash went, but because that's how you buy property. But if he didn't do that, where's the cash? There's nothing like looking if you want to find something, but they don't want to find anything. Every city commissioner, other than Judy Tinder, wants an immediate emergency meeting. Commissioner Warwick said, we'll get there in time. We're going to be deliberate about this and not emotional. It's one thing we're not, is emotional. The other ones, again, they're just whistling Dixie. Mayor Nelson, Brandon Aldridge, and Pat Perno. A bag of cash. Now, there's one other guy, Mickey White. Mickey White is the nephew of the late Derwin White, the big contractor. He passed away last year, but his nephew, Mickey White, started a company right after Hurricane C called ECS, Erosion Control Specialist, and they billed the city fraudulently like $5 million. He pleaded guilty to it. And so when he talked to the FBI, you know what he said? How much money was in that bag of cash sitting at the chief's feet that he just looked at until Mike got back and took it away? Mickey White said, no, that was like $172,000 of cash. But I guess it depends on when, you know. I mean, maybe when Michael White first got it, there was 172. And by the time he dropped it in Chief Ramie's feet, Chief Ramie told the FBI there was 40 grand, according to Mike. And then Mike said there's 10 grand. So maybe it just depends on when and where. Trying to figure it out. But they say it doesn't prove anything. And we don't appreciate the innuendo. We just don't. All right, so let's get back to the ethics, though. So it says, I will enforce the law courteously, appropriately, without fear or favor, no favors, malice or ill will, never using unnecessary force or violence, and for sure never accepting any gratuities. I mean, come on. Quote, I recognize the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust, so held so long as I'm true to the ethics of police service. See, that's the standard, guys. I will never engage in acts of corruption or bribery, nor will I condone such acts of other police officers. I'll cooperate with all legally authorized agencies and their representatives in the pursuit of justice. That's the ethics. But what does the state say about this? Right? What are state statutes? The commissioners, while they're waiting around for the truth to fall in their lap, they could also look that up, Well, let's take a look. There is a state statute. There it is. I'll save you guys some time. Misuse of public position. Okay. No public officer, that includes a police officer, employee of an agency or local government attorney shall corruptly use or attempt to use his official position or any property or resource which may be within his or her trust, or perform his or her official duties to secure a special privilege, benefit, or exemption for himself, herself, or others. So, yeah, that's a state statute. We don't give favors. We don't do things for the benefit of others, like your boss, the city manager, whose friend is ticked off at a woman he's seeing on the side, and she's really upset him, and Chief Ramie says, we'll arrest her ass. And Michael White says, set her ass up if you have to. And what was it? Who was it again? Ramie said, Chief Ramie said, well, Shell's on the job tonight, so we can take care of that. That's Officer Shell. Here it is. These are the public record text messages right here. Look at that. Oh, sorry. All right. I don't want to switch screens again, but you saw. If you didn't see it, you just got to, watch the show and forward it. You don't have to listen to all the other talk. So you're just making stuff up. If this was real, it would be on the news. Okay. Why isn't the news covering this? Because they think if they ignore it, this is what the commissioners think. And I guess Chief Ramie and all of the authorities who ought to be acting on this, they think if we ignore it, it goes away. And that reminds me of an Ayn Rand quote. Ayn Rand said, remember this one, hey, commissioners, you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. I mean, Chief Judge Walker's on this stuff. If the FBI is not going to do anything, and if Sheriff Ford's not going to do anything, and if the FDLE is not going to do anything, and they're not, understand that Ricky Ramey's good friends with Sheriff Ford. Other people have brought Sheriff Ford things about Ricky Ramey, and Sheriff Ford said, he's my friend. I got to refer that to FDLE. FDLE says, thin blue line, baby. Right? There's no proof. Plus, you got to consider context and the conversations that might have happened, offline. And besides that, the trial's still going on. And the next meeting isn't until January. So, but I'll tell you what, though. There are surely other people who have been mistreated by the police now that we know this kind of stuff. And with all the racist stuff and all the lot of, I mean, this isn't just two guys at a bar talking. This is the chief of police and his boss, the city manager. You know, there are people who are getting pulled over by the Lynn Haven Police Department, or I don't know, arrested for what was it again? Traces or something of cocaine on a vial from more than a year ago in a house with no access and a safe, and a fingerprint on one of the caps that could go on any of the vials, and immediate arrest needs to take place. You know, there are some people who think there's, I don't know, vindictive policing going on and vindictive prosecution going on, not just at the federal level, as we're seeing in the Lynn Haven corruption case. And that's really come. You wait till you see what's about to happen this week there. But, you know, you've got Lynn Haven residents that now don't feel safe, and maybe haven't for a while, but now they got proof that they shouldn't feel safe. You've got journalists who don't feel safe. I'll tell you that. And the commission's attitude is, let's just go slow. All right? And wait. That's a dereliction of duty. You have a duty and an obligation to find it, to look for it, to be active about it, and to realize that the standard for termination is not proof of a crime. The standard for termination is that a police officer or a police chief has violated the code of conduct for that office that you have, Lynn Haven, as in your ethics policies that these police officers have to sign. And some police officers actually live up to. God bless you guys. I meet a lot of you, law enforcement officers, who really give a damn. Underpaid. It's a dangerous job right now. First responders, protect and serve. And you watch your brass, you watch your command staff, maybe the sheriff, maybe the chief of police, do things that make you can't even wear the uniform. Some of you leave. But there are a lot of you who really give a damn and care about that oath. God bless you. God bless you. We need you guys to be the brat. We need you guys to be the leaders. But first, evidently, there's some corruption that has to be cleaned up around here. And so far, the sheriff's public trust unit and the leader of the public trust unit, Major Jimmy Stanford, they've been very busy. There is so much corruption. I heard the prosecutors tell the judge that last week. I can understand how Major Stanford and the sheriff's public trust unit, look, we had COVID, we had an election change. That slowed stuff down a lot. We've had this Lynn Haven case we've been prosecuting, and they keep making us turn over exculpatory evidence. We got to dig up all this stuff. We got to go through all the stuff at the GAC raid. It takes time. So, you know, maybe they'll get around to it. But if they don't get around to it, if the sheriff's office never gets around to it, the FBI never gets around to it, then guess what? Then perhaps it's up to Judge Mark Walker, who has asked the defense for a list of bad actors and bad acts, vindictive prosecution, targeted investigations. Judge Walker looked and said, he looked at the land. You have a mayor, hey, Lynn Haven residents, you have a mayor who was removed from office August 2020 because they said, are you ready for this? They said that she had billed the city to have hurricane debris cleaned up from her home. It was shown in court last week. Judge Walker said, my God, none of that's on her property. She was removed. And you know what's crazier? Commissioner Judy Tinder, who is the next door neighbor, to Mayor Anderson. She brought the maps to Sheriff Ford and the FBI agent and showed them. They pulled up Google Earth, everything, showed them. So Sheriff Ford and the FBI agent knew that it wasn't on her property, but they pursued it anyway, and she was removed from office. You had a mayor removed from office. For Bernie, there were 64 counts. There were other things. They dropped them. The court threw out most of them. And recently, the prosecution themselves dropped 25 of them. There's 2 left. And the judge is looking at the evidence going, oh, my God, send me a list of the people who might have been involved. Tell me what they did. And the judge is considering issuing sanctions against anybody involved in malicious prosecution. WMBB says, just because they can't prove it doesn't mean she didn't do it. And WMBB doesn't tell you anything at all about this. They still haven't reported that the result of the hearing last week was that the judge asked for the names and the acts of the bad actors that he might sanction. WMBB hasn't even said those words, bad actors and bad acts. You talk about a loss of... Do you know that the only institution, according to the latest Gallup poll, they do this every year, the only institution with less faith by the American people than Congress is TV news. TV news, nobody believes you. WMBB, they walk around like there's somebody, nobody believes you. Everybody knows you're misleading them. Huey Lewis and the News, Tom Lewis, and Brady Calhoun. But you can't, what's going to happen when the reality hits and you guys have to confess that you've been lying to the people the whole time? Don't listen to Bernie Thompson. He's crazy. Bernie must be, Bernie is a cheerleader for these people. Yeah. Everything I've told you is what's coming out. Because I didn't tell you until I knew it. And if I do surmise or guess, I tell you. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm often wrong. But if I say it, I show it, don't I? Why aren't they showing it? All right. I'm going to wrap it up. It's just, the corruption here is so... I did not know. I was hoping that those with badges and guns, jails and all that stuff, I was hoping that they were going to arrest the real criminals who have been robbing the county blind. Judge Walker said that. Those were his words. I should have put it up here. Judge Walker told the prosecutors, wait, you're telling me that you got all this evidence against the school board, the county, and all you've been doing is looking until you find an invoice about that particular mayor? He said, is there any doubt that there are bad actors robbing the county blind? And the prosecutor, Kevin Grogan, said, there's a lot of corruption there, Your Honor. And then he mentioned specifically the school district and the county. And the judge says, well, what the hell are you doing? Do you have a box of evidence over here and then over there? That's not how he told him this. Is that how investigations work? Vindictive, targeted. But here's the good news. I've been telling you for a long time that the Sheriff's Public Trust Unit was going to get to the bottom of this. I was wrong. I was misled. I told you that the FBI was on it. I was misled. But here's what I know for sure now. Chief Judge Mark Walker, he's looking at this. And by tomorrow, that's, I think, the deadline, at least the loose deadline. By tomorrow, I believe the defense is going to submit their list of bad actors and bad acts. Things like, lying to a grand jury over and over and over. To obtain an indictment that removed your mayor, who had a 90% popularity. Do you know there are text messages that indicate, just like these, that after the hurricane, while you had no power and no water, that Chief Ramie and they were partying like rock stars. Yeah. And during that time, well, they told you initially, they told you when they indicted Mayor Anderson that she was floating around on a yacht with James Finch. And now that's been thrown out because it never happened. He didn't even have a yacht at that time. And it was established in the evidentiary hearing she didn't go to the Keys twice. But those guys were partying like rock stars. During that time after the hurricane, you may remember this, she actually, and this never really gets talked about. It's interesting that she was picked because she actually raised $250,000 in private funds, not grants, private money. She raised $250,000. And then there was a committee and a vote, and 250 families got $1,000 to help them through this process. She had hoped to raise more, but those who could help her were partying. And you don't know these things because WMBB has been on the take. They've been in on it. So the other news outlets, man, you think the corruption is from the contractors who are, bribing the elected officials. And if you have if you're an elected official and you take a bribe, and there are a lot of them, but they've been skating, right? They got the right connections. As Muhammad Ali said, and I love Muhammad Ali. He said some of them got the right connections and complexion to get the protection. Well, that's for sure. But Judge Mark Walker now is snooping in the tent, rifling through papers, looking at evidence. And you got a whole bunch of people here sweating more than Mark Furman at the Million Man March. You remember that? Would he be comfortable there? A lot of people sleeping with one eye open. And they're mad at me. They're furious at me for telling you this. They're mad at me for telling you this. Hey, you shouldn't show that public record. I shouldn't show the public record. Yeah, it was what? It's a public record. It's not protected by the court. No, it's a public record. Quit lying to people. All right, I gotta wrap it up, don't I? I gotta say thank you to those of you who helped me do this. Thank you to the Unknown Patriot. And if you want to help me, if you want to keep this going, my independent efforts, there are ways you can do it. You could throw some in the tip jar at patreon.com/Bernie Thompson, because people are scared to sponsor me because there's vindictive consequences oftentimes. So this is anonymous though, and this is easy, and you can quit at any time. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. That's one way to do it. I've got a lot more for you, but not tonight. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for being with me. Will you please help get the word out? If you care about this, if you think this is true, will you share it? Will you tag your friends? And demand that the commissioners quit trying to ignore it, quit trying to wait till the truth comes, and do their duty and go find the truth.